The skies over Earth turned red. It was sudden. One minute, people were going to work, walking dogs, cooking meals. The next minute, massive black ships appeared over cities like floating shadows. No warning, no message, no sign of mercy. Above, New York, a glowing red light shot down and turned a whole block to ash. People screamed. Buildings shook. Sirens howled. The war had begun, and Earth was not ready. Satellites went dark in seconds. Fighter jets scrambled, but they were nothing compared to the alien ships. The first day was chaos. Earth's armies tried to fight, but their weapons bounced off the alien shields. It was like throwing stones at tanks. In a dark room beneath a mountain, a man sat in silence, waiting. His name was Sergeant Kane Ward, and he was not like other soldiers. He was part of something the world had forgotten. Secret experiment, called Project Atlas. Now, the world was burning. He was still locked away 20-4 hours earlier. Kane's cell was small. Just 4 walls, a bench, and a steel door. No windows. No clocks. No sense of time. He didn't mind. He liked the quiet. After all the wars he had seen, the silence was peaceful. He had been in the military since he was 16, joined early. Fought in the jungle wars, the ice wars, the desert wars. He had taken bullets, shrapnel. Bernzan still stood tall. Then came Project Atlas. They told him it would make him stronger, faster, better. They weren't lying. They changed his bones, injected his muscles with something they never explained, put him through training that would kill most men. When it was over, he could lift cars, punch through steel, and run faster than a machine. But they locked him away, said he was too dangerous, said the world didn't need monsters. Now it did. The alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The entire underground. Base shook as a blast hit the surface. Kane stood and looked at the ceiling. Dust fell from the cracks. He could hear soldiers shouting above. The door to his cell opened. A man in a lab coat rushed in, holding a small metal key. He was shaking. "Ward? Sergeant Ward? You have to come with me now." Kane raised an eyebrow. "Why now?" "These years, we're under attack. Not just this base Earth aliens. The real deal. We're being wiped out." Kane stepped out of the cell slowly. "How bad?" The man swallowed. "They've taken 5 cities already. Nukes did nothing. Our best tech can't scratch them. We need you." Kane smiled for the first time in years. They rushed down the hallway. Soldiers ran past them, holding rifles that shook in their hands. Some were bleeding. Some had fear in their eyes. The base was falling apart. In the command room, screens showed cities. Burning London, Tokyo.
Ow.
Ships shaped like giant claws hovered over them, firing blue energy beams that melted tanks. Giant insect-like creatures marched through streets, grabbing humans and dragging them away. "We call them the Vorga," said General Hollis. He was a strong man, but his voice trembled. "They don't talk. They don't negotiate. They just attack. What do they want?" Kane asked. "Slaves? Or maybe just to wipe us out?" Kane watched the screen. One ship was heading toward a forest base. He recognized the layout. It was the prison colony where they kept the other Atlas soldiers, the ones who went mad from. "The treatments. They're hitting our black sites," Kane said. "They're not just invading, they're hunting us." General nodded. "They know who you are." Kane clenched his jaw. "Then it's time they meet me in person." Back on the surface outside, the air smelled like fire and metal. Alien ships filled the sky. A squad of soldiers ran toward the hills, but were cut down by blasts of blue energy. Kane walked calmly, bullets bouncing off his enhanced skin. Vorga beasts dropped from a ship standing nearly 9 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in dark green armor, their claws clicking with excitement. One of them growled in a strange, clicking language. Kane didn't understand it, didn't need to. The first beast charged. Kane didn't move. Just before it reached him, he grabbed the creature by the arm, and with a roar snapped it over his shoulder like a twig. The second beast paused. Confused, Kane reached out, grabbed its throat, and lifted it off the ground. It kicked and hissed, but it was no use. Kane stared into its alien eyes and said coldly, "You came to the wrong planet." He threw the beast into the side of a crashed tank. Bones cracked. He didn't get up. Meanwhile, on the Vorga command ship high above Earth, Vorga officers watched. Through screens, they laughed when they saw human weapons fail. They laughed when Earth's leaders begged for peace. But then they saw Kane. One Vorga captain pointed at the screen. "This one is different." Another leaned in. He killed a bone crusher. With one hand, a red-armored general stepped forward.
X, bring him to me alive.
I want to see what makes him so dangerous.
Later that night, Kane stood on a ruined rooftop, watching the fires burn across the horizon. The war had started fast, without warning. Earth was losing badly. But Kane wasn't afraid. He remembered something his old commander once told him. Sometimes, to fight monsters. He looked down at his fists, bloodied, scarred, unbreakable. The Vorga thought Earth was weak. They laughed at human strength. They didn't understand what was coming. They would. Final scene of Part 1. A Vorga dropship descends over a human base. Soldiers run, screaming for cover, but Kane doesn't run. He steps forward as the ship lands. The doors open. Dozens of alien warriors step out. Kane cracks his neck, rolls his shoulders, and whispers to himself, "Time to show them what human muscle really means." Hook. Smoke rose from the crash site, burning metal. Shattered alien tech. The Vorga command ship was gone. Rescue scouts searched the debris, expecting nothing alive. Then, something moved under the wreckage. A metal plate flew into the air. A blood-covered hand reached up from beneath the ruin. Kane. Ward was still alive. Story begins. He should have died in that explosion. No normal human could survive a direct crash. Into an enemy command ship, not even with body armor. But Kane Ward was never normal. 2 hours earlier, fire and electricity tore through the alien warship's decks as it slammed into the Vorga flagship. The explosion lit up half the sky. Humans in escape pods watched, expecting Kane to be vaporized, inside the ship at the last moment. Kane had thrown himself into a reinforced maintenance chamber. The walls held. Barely when the flames cleared, Kane was unconscious, trapped under tons of wreckage. But his body healed fast. His lungs were tougher than steel. His heart beat like a hammer. He woke up hours later, bruised, burned, but breathing. Punched upward and tore through steel with his bare hands. Aboard a nearby human recon, Shipay, hidden Earth stealth craft, picked up Kane's escape signal. The crew couldn't believe it. "Someone's alive," the pilot said. "From that wreck, signal matches Project Atlas. It's him." They dropped into the atmosphere and scanned the ruins. Suddenly, Kane walked out shirtless, bleeding, dragging a piece of armor like a shield. He stared at the ship's open ramp. "I need a ride," he said. Inside the ship DR. Mira Chen, one of the scientists behind Project Atlas, examined Kane's body with wide eyes. "You shouldn't be alive," she whispered. "The crash, the fire, the internal damage, this defies everything." Kane sat calmly as she scanned his back. "I told you what I was," he said. "You didn't believe me? Your muscles have fused with the nanoweave. Your bones are denser than anything on Earth, Kane. You're not just a soldier anymore. You're a weapon." Kane didn't answer, looked at the stars through the window, and it's time I was aimed. Elsewhere. Vorga homeworld. Council chamber. The destruction of the command ship had shaken the Empire. The Vorga High Council gathered, massive armored aliens with sharp claws and glowing eyes. They watched the footage of Kane walking through. Fire. Killing captains. Breaking their strongest warriors. "He is not one of them," one said. "He is a death creature," said another. "We must crush Earth before they make more." One Vorga general stood. He wore red armor covered in ancient symbols. His name was General Varnatha, most feared killer in their empire. "Send me," Varna growled. "I will bring back his broken body." Back on Earth's side, the human fleet was gathering again. Hidden bases were sending out stealth ships. Earth had been quiet too long. Now it was fighting back. Kane stood in the command room of a hidden cruiser. Maps of alien space glowed around him. Captain Darien, a tall, sharp-eyed leader, watched Kane. "We're hearing reports," Darien said. "Alien soldiers retreating. Whole squad scared to face one human." "They should be," Kane replied. "What happened to you, Kane?" "Before the war," Kane turned slowly, "I volunteered. Project Atlas wasn't forced on me. I saw Earth falling apart. I wanted to become something that could stop it. I didn't. Care what it cost? And now?" Kane stared at his fists. "Now I am the cost." The next mission, a trap Earth picked, but distress signal from a distant colony on Kepler 9, a hidden Vorga base had taken hundreds of prisoners. Kane volunteered to go. They sent him in with a small team. Reyes returned. The others deadened, single quotes. Why? Because it was a trap. Varnock was waiting. The ambush. Blood on the dust. The colony was dry and rocky sharp, red cliffs and open sky. The team approached quietly, but the ground exploded beneath them. Vorga warriors leaped from hidden caves. Plasma blasts flew from all sides. Reyes shouted, "Fall back!" But Kane charged forward straight into the enemy lines. The aliens laughed. "He thinks he's stronger than all of us." They surrounded him. One tried to slice him with a plasma blade. Kane caught the blade in his hand. It hissed and smoked. Against his skin but didn't cut. Then Kane pulled it free and stabbed the alien. With its own weapon, he ripped a second once. Arms off. He kicked a third so hard, shattered against a boulder. Reyes saw it all from cover. "He's not a man," he whispered. "He's a machine made of rage." Face to face, General Varnock after, the fight Kane stood, alone breathing hard. Body covered in alien blood. Then Varnock stepped from the shadows, massive, towering over Kane, claws like swords. His armor glowed. "With ancient power, I have heard. Of you, human, I have killed thousands. But none were ever like you. Kane didn't blink, and you'll die like the rest." They clashed. Varnock swung. Kane dodged. Varnock struck again, breaking rocks with each blow. Kane fought back fast. It's brutal punches that dented armor. But Varnock was strong. It's very strong. He grabbed Kane, lifted him, and slammed him into the ground. "Your strength is impressive." The alien growled, "But you are still flesh." Kane's eyes burned with fury. Wrong. He grabbed Varnock's wrist, twisted, and with a roar broke the alien's arm. Varnock screamed. But Kane didn't stop. He punched the general so hard. His helmet cracked. Then again. And again. Finally, Kane slammed both fists down, shattering the armor and dropping Varnock to the dirt. The general coughed. Dazed. Kane grabbed him by the throat and leaned in close. "Tell your kind. Earth doesn't kneel." And then he let the alien leave on purpose? Ending scene. Back aboard the human cruiser, Reyes asked, "Why didn't you kill him?" Kane replied, "Fear spreads faster than death."
Ow.
Let him tell the others what he saw. On a Vorga ship far away, General Varnock knelt in front of the High Council, his face broken, his body still shaking. "What happened?" they asked. Varnock looked up, eyes filled with terror. "He ripped through us like fire. He's not a man. It's worn human skin." The alien guards laughed as they strapped heavy chains onto Kane's wrists. Chains made from their strongest metal. "Let's see the beast try to move now." One Vorga chuckled, but Kane's eyes stayed locked on them. Cold, calm, dangerous. One of the guards leaned close and hissed, "You are nothing, human." Kane looked down at the glowing cuffs, flexed his muscles slowly, and the chains began to crack. Story begins. The Vorga didn't kill Kane. They studied him. They wanted to know why one human could crush their warriors, break their weapons, and walk through plasma blasts like rain. So they stunned him with high energy. Shocks and dragged him into their warship. Now, Kane sat in a cold, alien, cell-dark purple walls, glowing blue lights and thick chains wrapped around his limbs. His arms were pulled above his head, his legs locked to the floor. Strange energy. filled the air, making every hair on his body stand on edge. The door slid open with a hiss. 3 Vorga officers entered, followed by one thin, long-necked alien scientist. He had 4 eyes and a small black device in his hand. "This one is not like the others," the scientist said, watching Kane carefully. "His muscle tissue is too dense, bones are stronger than steel. But how?" "Maybe they evolved faster," one Vorga warrior said. "No," the scientist replied. "This one was built." Kane smiled. "You're smarter than you look." The guards growled and stepped forward, but the scientist raised a hand. "No, let him speak. Let's see what he is." Kane leaned forward. The chains groaned. "What happens when you push humans too far? You wanted a war? Now you've got one." The scientist smiled just as Kane pulled his arms down. With a sharp snap, the chains shattered like glass. Before the guards could move, Kane jumped, yanked the chain from the wall, and whipped it across the room like a weapon. It wrapped around the neck of one Vorga, and with a hard pull, Kane crushed its throat. Alarm screamed. Kane spun, kicked the second guard in the chest so hard its ribs exploded outward, then tackled the third, slamming its head into the wall until the alien stopped moving. The scientist tried to run. Kane caught him by the back of his collar and held him up with one hand. "Where are the other humans?" he growled. I don't know," the alien shouted. "Please," Kane tossed him aside. "Wrong answer." Elsewhere on the ship, dozens of humans, soldiers, workers, civilians were trapped in cells across the alien warship. Most of them had been taken during the invasion, loaded like cattle into cages, beaten and starved. The Vorga saw them as nothing more than pets. Then the lights turned red. Then the walls. Shh. Then the screams started. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of something or someone breaking through decks like thunder. One human prisoner, a soldier named Reyes, looked up from his cell. "What the hell is that?" Another whispered. "It's him, the one they caught, the monster." Kane was moving fast through walls, through floors, through anything that stood in his way. He didn't stop. He didn't hide. He was on a mission. Bridge of the ship, Captain Zur. The Vorga in charge of the vessel watched security footage in disbelief. Kane had torn through 2 decks in less than 5 minutes. Over 30 guards were down. "This human is not a warrior," Zur hissed.
Oh.
A lower officer said nervously, "Shall we deploy the toxin gas, Commander?" "No, that will kill the other specimens. We need them alive." Suddenly a screen went black, then another, then another. "Where is he now?" Zur demanded. A deep, metallic crash answered him. The main door to the bridge exploded inward. Kane stepped through the smoke, bloodied, shirt torn. Holding a broken alien spear like a club, Zur reached for his plasma pistol, but Kane hurled the spear across the room. It went straight through the captain's chest, pinning him to the wall. The other officers backed away in fear. Kane walked to the control panel, grabbed the nearest one by the neck, slammed his head onto the controls. "Open the cages," he said. The alien groaned in pain. Kane slammed him again, harder. "Open them." The screen beeped. Cells across the ship began unlocking. Prison decks, the sound of cells. Opening was followed by silence, then cheering, then rage. Dozens of humans, men, women, young soldiers, old mechanics stepped out, blinking in the red lights. Some were crying. Some were furious. All were ready. Kane arrived moments later. Covered in blood, he stood in front of the group. Reyes stepped forward. "Are you real?" Kane looked around. "You all want out?" Everyone nodded. Double quotes. "We're going to crash this ship into their fleet." Back to the bridge, more Vorga ships were arriving. They thought Kane's ship was secure. They didn't know he had taken it over. Kane looked out the window at the growing fleet. He turned to Reyes. "Get everyone into the escape pods. Launch them now." "What about you?" Reyes asked. "I'm flying the ship straight into their command cruiser. That's suicide." Kane grinned. "Only for them." Final moments. The escape pods launched. Humans watched from space as the alien warship, now glowing and broken, turned toward the Vorga command ship. Aboard the bridge, Kane locked the controls and stood tall. Round him, fire spread through the decks. He looked at the approaching ship. "I told you," he said quietly. "You picked the wrong planet." The warship slammed into the Vorga flagship with a massive explosion. Light filled the stars, but deep in the wreckage, Gain's heart still beat. Hook, the alien mech, dropped into the valley like a falling mountain. 20 feet tall, armor made of star-forged steel. Its cannons locked onto the lone figure below Kane Ward. The Vorga commander laughed. "No human can stop this." Kane didn't. "Move then." With one deep breath, he charged the mech head-on. Story begins. News spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A human had defeated General Varnock, the Vorga. The Empire had never seen anything like it. Entire planets went silent when they heard the story. A human not with tanks or fleets but with bare hands had torn through elite warriors and shattered their top commander. They called him by a new name now, the Butcher of Vorga, inside Earth. Command high in Earth's orbit aboard the stealth carrier Eclipse. Top generals and scientists met around a glowing table. Dr. Mira Chen stood beside Kane, pointing at star maps. "This is your next target, Traxian Prime, a major Vorga base. They're building new weapons. Mechs. Bigger than anything we've seen." General Darian leaned forward. "They've also taken more human prisoners. We believe over 1,000 are held underground." Kane's eyes narrowed. "Then I'll break them out." "Not alone," Darian said. "We'll send a strike team." Kane shook his head. "They'll slow me down." He turned and walked toward the armory. "Just drop me close." On Raxion Primeraction Prime was an ugly world-black soil, dark red sky, sulfur in the air. The Vorga liked it because of the deep caves and endless energy sources. Kane was dropped in silent, no warning, no backup. He moved like a ghost through the outer perimeter, avoided patrols, crushed one sentry's throat before it could scream. Then he saw it. The mech yard. Giant war machines lined up in rows H, one the size of a house. Some were being fueled, others tested, but one stood tall in the center, painted red. Cannons on both arms, long legs built for crushing tanks. The Juggernaut. Suddenly alarms blared. He'd been seen. Spotlights lit up the yard. Guards shouted. Mechs began to activate, and then the Juggernaut dropped from its platform and stomped toward him. The battle begins. The Juggernaut fired a missile. Kane dove left. The blast sent rock and metal flying. It fired again. He rolled under it, sprinted forward, and jumped, grabbing onto one of its leg joints. Alien operators inside tried to shake him. Kane punched the joint 3 times. Sparks flew, the leg buckled, the mech stumbled. Kane climbed faster, bare hands against armor. A Vorgatech inside screamed, "Get him off." But Kane reached the chest panel and tore open the hatch, grabbed the alien pilot and ripped him out, throwing the body to the ground below with no pilot. The mech swayed. Kane jumped from the top, landing hard on the ground as the machine collapsed behind him. The other guards backed away. Terrified, he turned toward the prison gates. Time to break more than machines. Underground facility. Kane moved fast, tripping through walls, smashing doors. He found the prisoner cells to levels below. Humans stood in shock as he tore the door off its hinges. One of them, a teenage girl with dirt on her face, whispered, "You're real." A wounded soldier stared at Kane's blood-covered arms. "The hell are you?" Kane said nothing. He just handed the soldier a weapon. "Fight your way out. You've got 5 minutes before they send more." Meanwhile, Vorga War Council footage of the Juggernaut exploding arrived on Vorga Prime. Silence. Then, rage. He destroyed a war machine. Alone. He freed our prisoners. He must be stopped. A black-armored Vorga warlord growled. "You." Gave him a name, a symbol. It's the Butcher of Vorga. "And now your soldiers run from that name." Another alien hissed. "You should have crushed Earth when you had the chance." Back on Raxion Prime, the prison was burning. Humans poured out into the yard, armed with alien rifles, clubs. Whatever they could grab, Kane led the charge. They fought through waves of Vorga soldiers. Kane broke bones, crushed armor, tore through ranks like a one-man army. He picked up a heavy energy cannon too large for most soldiers, and carried it under one arm like a toy. The humans saw him take hits that would have killed anyone else and keep going. By the time the extraction dropships landed, the Vorga had retreated. Later that night, in orbit and aboard the Eclipse, General Darien debriefed the survivors. "How many did we lose?" he asked. "Only 3, Rhea said, "'cause Kane cleared half the base before we got there." Mirachen stood beside Kane in the medbay, scanning his wounds. "You're covered in burns and deep cuts, but your heart rate is steady. Your body is already healing." She looked at him closely. "Kane, you're not human anymore, not fully." He stared at his fists. "Quiet?" she asked. "Do you care?" Kane shook his head. "They started this war thinking we were weak, that we'd roll over, that Earth was easy to conquer. And looked out at the stars. They don't laugh anymore." Final scene. A captured Vorga captain is dragged into an Earth cell. He's shaking, wounded. General Darien leans forward and asks, "Why did you run?" "You had the numbers." The Vorga doesn't speak. He's too afraid. Darien presses again. "What did you see out there?" The alien finally whispers. "We saw something that should not exist. A weapon made of flesh. A human who walks like war." Darien smiles. And that was just one. Hook, the Vorga general, stepped onto the battlefield wearing armor forged from the bones of his past enemies. His name was General Roken, and he had never lost a fight. Across from him stood Kane Wardbur, handed, covered in scars and quiet as stone. Roken laughed. "This is the creature they fear? This is the butcher?" He raised his warhammer high. Kane cracked his neck, clenched his fists, and said in a low voice, "Come find out." Story begins. The Vorga Empire was burning one outpost at a time. Every time Kane Ward appeared, a base fell. A war machine was destroyed. A Vorga unit vanished. The aliens had laughed at humans when the war started. Now, they feared the sound of human footsteps, and yet, one Vorga still believed in strength. His name was Roken, a high general of the old bloodlines, a warrior who once killed 12 gladiators with his bare hands. He believed the stories of Kane were exaggerations. "Fear makes small things look big," Roken said. "Bring me this butcher. I will show the galaxy what true strength looks like." The Vorga Council begged him not to go. He didn't listen. He sent a message to Earth's command. One-on-one. No weapons. No armies. Just you and me. "If you refuse, I will burn another human city." Inside Earth's flagship, the Eclipse Kane stood quietly while the message played on screen. Around him, Earth generals argued. "It's a trap. They'll cheat. Don't answer this challenge." But Kane didn't move. His eyes were locked on Roken's face. "That smug, cruel smile I accept," he said. General Darien turned. To him, "You don't need to prove anything." "I'm not proving anything," Kane said. "I'm ending something." The dual ground, a dead moon called Grelnine, the chosen battlefield, was Grelnine. A moon with no air, no plants, and no life. Only rock, ash, and silence. 2 transports landed on opposite sides. Roken stepped out, first armor glinting. Breath steady, Kane followed, bare chest, black combat pants, and nothing else. No gear, no fear. A circle had been carved into the celd. Rock by Vorga drones. Inside it, only 2 would enter. Only 1 would leave. The air was thick with tension. Even watching fleets stayed in orbit. Silent the fight begins. Roken struck first. His warhammer swung like a comet, smashing into the ground beside Kane. The force shook the crater. Kane moved just in time, dust flying everywhere. The second swing came faster, toward Kane's ribs. Kane blocked it with his forearm. The hammer bent. Roken stared. Impossible. Kane stepped in, punched Roken in the stomach. The sound echoed. Like thunder, the Vorga staggered. But he wasn't done. Roken roared and grabbed Kane, slamming him into the rock wall. Kane coughed blood. Then he grinned. "Is that all you've got?" Round 2. Fury, unleash. Unleash a Droken charged. Kane ducked low, grabbed the alien's leg, and lifted, throwing the massive general over his shoulder like a rag doll. Rokon crashed into the dirt with a deep growl. He got up, swing. Miss Kane dodged, kicked low, then sent a straight punch into Rokon's jaw. The general stumbled, Kane didn't. Stop. One punch to the ribs, another to the throat, another to the helmet. Cracked. The helmet split. Blood poured from the general's mouth. Kane grabbed Rokan by the chest plate and ripped it off. Then came the moment, the one the galaxy would never forget. With blood dripping from his arms and fire in his eyes, Kane grabbed both of Rokan's arms and pulled. Muscle tore, bone snapped, and the alien general screamed. Kane ripped him in half, across the galaxy. Silence. The live transmission went everywhere. 2 Vorga warships, 2 neutral planets, to hiding human colonies. They all saw it. The Butcher didn't just win, he destroyed. He stood over the torn body of General Rokon and looked directly into the camera. His voice was calm, but terrifying. Tell the rest of your generals, I'm coming.
Back on Earth ship.
No one spoke as Kane returned to Eclipse. Even hardened Marines looked at him with awe and fear. Dr. Myra Chen met him at the airlock. You're bleeding, she said. I always am, Kane answered. Rhea stepped forward. They're not going to stop, are they? No, Kane said. But neither will I. On Vorga Prime, the Council watched the footage again and again. They had no answer. No weapon, no general. The legend had become real, and the message was clear. Earth's muscle wasn't weak. Earth's anger had only begun. Final scene. In the dark. Far edges of space. Other species, ones that once feared the Vorg, watched. Kane's duel. One alien turned to its council and said, the humans have created something worse than war. They've made a weapon that thinks. Look. The room was silent as the footage played. A human alone ripping a Vorga general in half with his bare hands. Around the galaxy, alien leaders stared in horror. Some dropped their glasses. One fainted. A reptilian noble leaned forward, whispering, what kind of species makes something like that? His advisor trembled. The kind you should never make angry. Story begins. The death of General Rokon shook the galaxy harder than any battle. The Vorga had ruled for centuries with fear, numbers, and firepower. But now, that fear belonged to someone else, to the humans. And to one name that echoed across space, Kane Ward, the Butcher of Vorga, on Earth's flagship. Eclipse Kane stood in the war room as maps lit up. Dr. Myra Chen pointed to several blinking red zones. Look at this. Half the Vorga colonies are in retreat. Their outer fleets are pulling back. Captain Darien nodded. Some smaller species are refusing to send support. They're afraid. You've changed the war, Kane. Kane didn't smile. This isn't victory. It's fear. And fear spreads 2 ways. Meanwhile, on the neutral planet Velarth, Velart Republic had always been careful, never picking sides, always trading with whoever held power. Now, its leaders watched Kane's battle on loop. One official paced nervously.
As human.
He was once a soldier. Yes, said another, enhanced. But still, human. They laughed at them, the first said, called them soft. Now one of them walks through our nightmares. An old Velar warlord, blind in one eye, spoke up from the corner. You all forget, he growled. Earth is not new to war. We've been building monsters in silence. We just never paid attention. He leaned forward and now are awake. Inside a Vorga laboratory, deep space, a group of scientists gathered around a frozen screen. It showed Kane's dual-frame B-frame, his strength. The moment he tore Rokan in two, this is not natural, said one. No, said another. This is design, precision, a walking extinction. The head scientists looked afraid. We were wrong. We thought Earth was a joke, a resource, an all-easy win. He paused. but we were playing a dangerous game with a dangerous species. On the outer moon, Curl 7, small, skirmishes continued as the human rebellion spread. Kane was there leading a squad of escapees from an old prison camp. The humans moved fast, hitting Vorga outposts, stealing weapons, freeing captives. Every time, Kane led from the front, not because he had to, but because he wanted the Vorga to see him, to fear him. Alien broadcast secret transmission across Vorga. Channels. Then it happened. A hacked signal went out across Vorga space. Kane's face appeared on thousands of screens. He stood on a battlefield of smoking metal, alien bodies in the background. His voice was calm, measured, deadly. You wanted slaves. You called us weak. You stole our people and laughed. Now you run from one human. What happens when we all rise? He stared straight into the camera. You thought Earth was easy prey? You forgot. We bite. The feed cut, and across the Vorga Empire, riots began. Back on Eclipse DR, Chen turned from the screen, shocked. Kane, you just declared war on their entire empire. He didn't blink. They started it. Arian nodded slowly. And now, they're losing it. A message arrived. From the Korger Uniana, strong neutral species, it read, we will no longer support the Vorga. We offer alliance to Earth and to the one you call the Butcher. The galaxy was shifting, one species at a time. On Vorga Prime the High Council was in chaos. Councils breaking, allies defecting, trade collapsing, and the humans kept winning. They're not using fleets, one shouted. Not big armies, they're using him, another growled. One man, one legend, then kill him. A third screamed, but no one volunteered. Not anymore. Meanwhile, in orbit over Curl 7, a new Vorga battlecruiser appeared, 3 times larger than standard warships. Covered in black armor, called the Abyss Claw. Its job, eradicate Kane Ward. But Kane didn't wait for it to fire as it lowered its orbit. He activated a captured Vorga beacon. The ship thought he was requesting pickup. He boarded alone. Inside, the Abyss Claw Kane walked down glowing red halls, fists clenched, blood from the last fight still on his arms. He didn't sneak. He walked straight in. Crew after crew, out as he moved through decks. He punched one so hard, it flew into the engine vent. He ripped another out of its armor. The ship's captain tried to seal the bridge. Kane punched through the door. He dragged the captain across the floor, stared into its terrified face, and said, You built this ship to kill me? The alien didn't speak. Kane grinned. Then it's only fair. I returned the favor. Ending scene. The Abyss Claw didn't make it back to Vorga space. It was found drifting. Engines offline, crew missing, in the middle of the empty bridge. Scratched into the wall with a human fist was a message. This is what happens when you anger Earth. Hook. The sky above Vorga, Prime darkened, not from clouds, but from shadows. 12 human ships broke through the outer atmosphere. No flags, no names. At the front of the lead ship, standing without armor, helmet, or fear was Kane. Ward. The Vorga had sent war. Now Earth was sending revenge. Story begins. For years, Earth had fought from the shadows, striking with small teams, stealing victories where it could, but everything changed when Kane Ward became a symbol no longer. Was he just a soldier? Who was Earth's fury made flesh, and now Earth was done hiding. Inside Earth's command, War Room General Darien stood before the tactical display. Stars blinking red. Today, he said, we strike the Vorga homeworld. The room went still. We're not just sending ships. He added, we're sending a message. He looked at the screen where Kane's profile glowed in red. A message that Earth does not forgive. Behind him, the room cheered. But Dr. Mira Chen said nothing. She was watching something else. Kane's vitals. Steady. Muscle strain. Minimal. Pain sensors. Deadened. Healing rate. Unnatural. Kane, she whispered. What are you becoming? On board Earth's flagship Titan's Wrath, Kane. stood near the blast doors, arms folded, eyes sharp. He wore no armor, just a thick black belt and reinforced boots. His skin was scarred, hands red from the last mission. A young soldier approached him carefully. "Sir, is it true you killed a Vorga with just a piece of pipe?" Kane looked at him. Wasn't a pipe, it was a bone. The soldier went pale. Orbit above Vorga Prime, the human fleet entered with stealth. But as soon as the lead ship Titan's Wrath decloaked, all hell broke loose. Vorga defense cannons activated. Fighters swarmed, but Earth was ready. Plasma turrets roared. Missiles danced through space, and Kane jumped from orbit in a drop pod alone named directly at the Vorga High Tower. Kane's drop. One-man meteor, the drop pod hit the Capitol's courtyard like a hammer. Guards rushed to the crash site. Smoke poured out, silence. Then a heavy metal door blasted off. Kane stepped out. His fists were wrapped in steel cuffs. He had ripped from the pod walls. He cracked his knuckles and started walking toward the palace. Vorga elites opened fire. Plasma bolts screamed through the air, but Kane didn't stop. He caught one of the bolts with his bare hand and hurled it back. The gun exploded. Then he charged the high tower. Heart of the Empire, the Vorga Council panicked. "He's here. Impossible." Send. The Bone Guard. The Bone Guard was the Vorga's final defense. One genetically enhanced monsters wearing armor made from the bones of defeated champions. They blocked the throne hall until Kane arrived. The Hall of the Dead, the battle was brutal. The first guard swung a plasma axe. Kane ducked, grabbed the axe midair, ripped it in two. He punched the guard through a wall. The next attacked from above. Kane caught him mid-leap, slammed him into the floor, and crushed his chest. The other 18 hesitated. That was a mistake. Kane lunged a storm of fists, knees, elbows. Armor cracked, jaws snapped, bones broke. The final Bone Guard dropped his weapon and tried to run. Kane caught him and whispered, "Wrong species to mock." And then there were none. The throne room came and kicked the massive doors open. The council shrieked and backed away. Only one remained seated. High Chancellor Gore, leader of the Vorga, stood tall. His voice was calmed and his claws trembled. "You're just a man," Gore said. "One human." Kane stepped closer. "You're wrong," he said. "I'm every human you hurt. It's every colony you burned. Every scream you ignored." Gore raised his hand to signal hidden guards. Kane threw a chair so hard it shattered against the wall and flattened the guards behind it. He grabbed Gore by the throat. "I told you." "We don't kneel." He lifted the Chancellor, held him up like a trophy. "You laughed at our muscles." And then he slammed Gore into the throne so hard the metal cracked in half. Outside, Earth's ground forces. Arrived drop pods filled the skies. Human soldiers stormed the Capitol. The Vorga didn't fight. They ran. Some dropped weapons and begged for mercy. Others shouted warnings to stay away from the human monster. Later, message from Eartha humans didn't destroy the planet. They didn't bomb cities or kill civilians. They did something worse. They left. Kane's message on every screen in the Capitol. "We warned you. You laughed. Now look who's broken." Final scene. Across the stars, alien species who once feared the Vorga began to rise. Some joined Earth, others just stayed quiet but watched. Kane returned to Titan's Wrath in silence. Dr. Mira looked at him. "They're saying the war is almost over." Kane just said, "It's not over until the last cage is broken." She asked, "What will you do after?" Kane looked out at the stars. "Whatever I have to." Hook. Far beyond the edges of mapped space, on a planet with no name, the last human slaves still waited in chains. They didn't know Earth was winning. They didn't know Kane Ward existed. But deep inside the minds, someone whispered, "One day someone will come for us." Above them, a ship broke through, the clouds black, silent, and marked with a single name, Titan's Wrath, and inside it, Kane Ward stepped forward. Story begins. Earth had shattered the Vorga Empire. Capitals had fallen, fleets had fled. Armies had surrendered. But Kane Ward was not finished. "We found something." General Darien said, pointing at the hologram. A hidden prison camp, not listed in any captured records. Deep space. Ancient tech. No broadcasts in or out. Dr. Mirachen's face went cold. Could survivors still be there? Maybe, Darien said. But the planet is protected. Old defense grids. No one has ever come back. Kane looked at the amnesia black desert, dark towers, and one word stamped in alien script: Oblivion. He clenched his fists. Plot a course. Approach to Oblivion, the planet was silent. No signals, no movement. But as Titan's wrath drew near, turrets rose from the sands, missiles launched, energy weapons flared. Kane didn't blink. He stepped into a drop pod. The same way he had dozens of times before. Captain Reyes called out, "You sure about this?" Kane looked down at the burning world. It's the last cage, and I'm the key. Landing in hell, the pod crashed through the roof of a guard tower. The blast killed 3 alien wardens instantly. Kane stepped out into darkness, ash in the air. Broken machines and screams echoing through the metal walls. The prison was deep. Dozens of levels. Thousands of humans trapped in cells for years. Their eyes were hollow, their hope gone, until the walls began to shake, until alien guards started running the other way, until they heard it. A human voice, shouting in fury. Then they saw him. Kane Ward, covered in dust, blood, the last stand. The last stand, the prison's commander was a towering alien beast twice Kane's size. Armed with twin shock swords and a full-body shield. You're just flesh. It roared, "You will die like the rest." Kane stepped forward, chest bare, eyes calm. "I'm not here to die," he said. "I'm here to end you." The two clashed in the deepest level of the prison. The alien swung both swords. Kane dodged, caught one, and shattered it over his knee. The second blade cut across his back, but Kane ignored the pain. He slammed his elbow into the commander's chest. Breaking armor, he tackled the beast into a wall of controls, sparks flying with one final roar. Kane lifted the alien off the ground and slammed him headfirst into the floor. The warden didn't get up. The locks opened. Kane pulled a dead alien's hand and pressed it against the control screen. The lights across the prison changed from red to green. Hundreds of cells slid open. Men, women, even children stumbled into the corridors. One old man stared at Kane. You're real," a teenage girl whispered. "I saw you in my dreams." Kane didn't smile. He simply said, "You're free now, all of you." The escape Kane led them to the surface. Reyes arrived with shuttles. Human Marines covered the landing zone. But just as the last group reached the top level, the ground shook. The prison's core was failing. Kane looked back. Fires falling steel. He turned to Reyes. "Take them. I'll cover the rear." "Won't make it," Reyes said. Kane gave a grim grin.
Nice.
"I've heard that before." One last feat, a squad of forgotten Vorga elites appeared in the wreckage, desperate. Feral, holding on to the last bit of their broken empire. Kane charged. They fired. Missed. He didn't. He smashed one into a wall, kicked another off a ledge, and grabbed a third by the throat and threw it into the reactor fire. The last Vorga raised a knife. Kane grabbed its arm and snapped it clean in half. The prison collapses. The humans escaped into the sky. The prison exploded below them, a massive column of smoke and light. Reyes shouted, "He's still down there." Mirachen stood beside him. "No. Look. Out." Of the smoke, a figure walked across the burning sands. Slow, steady, Kane Ward. Alive. Again. Epilogue. 1 year later, the war was over. The Vorga Empire had fallen. Earth had allies now. Planets that once feared humanity now honored them. But Kane Ward never joined the victory celebrations. He lived in silence. Some said he walked the ruins of old Vorga cities. Others said he trained the next generation in secret. All anyone knew was when another threat rose. They would call him Final Scene on a distant world. A child pointed up at a statue towering figure made of steel and stone. It showed Kane Ward, standing over a cracked alien throne, fists clenched. The plaque read, "He was the weapon they feared, the storm they caused, the cage breaker, humanity's answer to cruelty." The boy asked his mother, did he really rip their general in half? She smiled. No, son, he ripped their whole empire in half.